Every morning at 8:02, the dog barked at the mailbox. Not the fence, not the passing cars, just the old green mailbox by the edge of the lawn. He'd sprint across the yard like his life depended on it, plant himself in front of it, and bark. Loud, relentless, frantic. At first, they thought it was a squirrel, maybe a scent, maybe just the dog being a dog. But it wasn't that, because it happened again and again. Same time, same way, every single morning. The barking wasn't playful. It wasn't random. It sounded like a warning, a cry. He'd bark, then stop suddenly, ears stiff, body frozen, like he expected something to move, like he was watching for something just beneath the surface. The neighbors noticed. The mailman grew uneasy. And the family? They started to worry. So one morning, they finally opened the mailbox. What they found inside left them stunned. The dog's name was Rusty, a wiry, red-coated mutt with soft eyes and a tail that wagged like it had its own heartbeat. The Harrisons adopted him from a shelter 5 years ago. He wasn't a puppy. He wasn't purebred. But the moment their daughter, Anna, knelt beside his cage, Rusty licked her hand and leaned in like he'd been waiting for her all his life. From that day on, he was hers, and she was his. Rusty followed Anna everywhere, from the school bus stop to the kitchen table to the hammock in the backyard. He slept on a blanket beside her bed and waited by the door when she was out. If she laughed, he wagged. If she cried, he pressed his head into her chest until she quieted down. He wasn't just a dog. He was a piece of the family's rhythm, a soft heartbeat in the background of their everyday. After Anna passed, the house went quiet. Too quiet. Her bedroom door stayed closed. Her toothbrush remained in the cup. Rusty curled up by the window for days, watching the road. Then one morning he got up, trotted across the yard, and barked at the mailbox. No one thought much of it, until it happened again and again. Rusty's barking became part of the morning. At first, they joked about it. Guarding the mailbox again, Mr. Harrison muttered one day as he sipped his coffee. But the laughter didn't last long, because Rusty wasn't barking just once or twice. He would bolt to the mailbox with urgency, like he was chasing something only he could see. He'd bark, circle it, then sit in front of it with his head tilted, staring at the rusted metal box like it was alive. Mrs. Harrison tried distracting him with a treat. He ignored it. He ignored food. He ignored everything. The strange part? He wouldn't do it in the afternoon or evening, just mornings, right after the sun hit the edge of the lawn, right around the same time Anna used to leave for school. It began to unsettle them. One morning, he pawed at the mailbox door hard. The metal creaked. His nails scraped like he was trying to open it. When Mr. Harrison pulled him away, Rusty squirmed and barked louder than ever. They took him to the vet that weekend. The doctor checked his ears, his eyes, his heart. Everything was fine. He's healthy, the vet said. Maybe he's reacting to a scent or memory. Dogs grieve in strange ways. The family nodded, but something about it felt off. Rusty had never done this before. Not after Anna died. Not for months. Only now, and only at the mailbox. Mrs. Harrison placed a small camera near the porch to watch him. The next morning, when the video played back, her hand trembled. Rusty ran to the mailbox like usual. But just before he barked, he stopped, still alert. He lifted his nose, then turned his head slowly, as if watching something pass. There was nothing there. Just air. Just silence. And yet his eyes followed it. Then he barked. Louder. Clearer. Like he wasn't trying to scare something away, but call something back. Mrs. Harrison sat at the kitchen table, her fingers curled tightly around a chipped coffee mug. The morning sun streamed through the window, but didn't feel warm. Rusty had already gone outside. Same time, same ritual. He was out there now, barking at the mailbox again. She stared at the floor, her voice barely above a whisper. It's been months, David. Why is he doing this now? Mr. Harrison didn't answer right away. He was standing at the sink, staring out the window, watching Rusty bark and circle, bark and sit, again and again. I don't know, he said finally. Maybe he thinks she's coming back. Tears welled up in her eyes. Do you think he sees her? I mean, could he? David turned around slowly. Dogs sense things we don't. Maybe he's not seeing her. Maybe he's feeling something. Mrs. Harrison wiped at her cheeks. It's breaking me. Every morning it's like losing her all over again. They had started avoiding the yard, pretending not to hear the barking, turning the TV louder. Rusty wouldn't stop. He wouldn't be comforted. He just waited and barked like it was the only thing keeping her memory alive. I don't want to say it, she whispered, but maybe we should think about giving him to someone else. Somewhere quieter. Somewhere he can forget. David sat down across from her and reached for her hand. He's not the one who needs to forget, he said. And outside, the barking stopped, then started again. Soft this time, like calling home. It was a Friday morning, colder than usual. The kind of morning where the air feels too still, too quiet, like something's waiting to break it. Rusty was already outside. They hadn't even finished breakfast before he shot out the door like a bullet and ran straight to the mailbox. His bark cut through the chill, sharp and urgent. But this time, it didn't stop. It didn't stop after 5 minutes. Or 10. Or 20. Mrs. Harrison stood by the window, wiping her hands on a dish towel. Something's not right. David lowered the newspaper. It's always like this. No, she said. It's different today. And then Rusty did something he'd never done before. He ran back to the house, barking wildly. He didn't stop at the porch. He jumped up and slammed his paws against the glass door, scratching, whining, eyes wide. Mrs. Harrison opened it just enough for him to squeeze in. He ran past her, not to the kitchen, not to the hallway, to the fireplace, and barked. Fiercely, David walked over. Rusty, what the? That's when they smelled it. Gas. It was faint, but it was there. A sour, metallic tang in the air. David's eyes widened. Check the stove. He ran to the kitchen. The knobs were off. Everything looked fine. Rusty kept barking at the fireplace. Pacing. Growling now. David knelt down, touched the cold metal. It was loose. He pulled the grate back and felt a breeze. Not wind, gas. Pouring from an old line no one had used in years. Lisa, get out. Get outside now. She grabbed the phone and followed him, heart hammering in her chest. Rusty was already out the door again, barking and circling them as if herding them away from the house. The fire department arrived within minutes. The technician confirmed the leak was dangerous. Slow, silent, and deadly. One match, one heater kick on, and the whole house could have gone up. It was a miracle you caught it in time, the man said. Most people don't. David looked down at Rusty, sitting beside the mailbox now, chest heaving, eyes still fixed on the road. He wasn't barking anymore, just watching. And in that moment, the weight of it all came crashing down. He hadn't just been grieving. He'd been trying to save them. Every single morning, his warning had been ignored. Until the day they finally listened. The fire inspector came back later that afternoon, clipboard in hand, boots still dusted with soot. He stood in the kitchen with the Harrisons and gently explained what they had narrowly escaped. The leak was slow, he said. Probably started weeks ago. Could have built up overnight. If your dog hadn't drawn your attention to it today, he paused, eyes serious. It could have ended very differently. Mrs. Harrison sat at the table, pale, her hands trembling around a half-full glass of water. David stood behind her, one hand on her shoulder. Neither of them spoke. The inspector continued, his voice soft. It was coming from a disconnected line behind the old fireplace. I don't know how he knew, but I'm telling you, he knew. Rusty lay quietly by the back door, his head resting on his paws. His eyes blinked slowly, tail still. Lisa turned to look at him, tears forming again. He's been trying to tell us for weeks, she whispered. David nodded. He was warning us. Every morning. Every single bark. The inspector gave a slow nod. Some dogs just sense things. They hear what we can't. Smell what we miss. They don't need to understand. They just act. The truth sank in like a wave. Rusty hadn't just been mourning Anna. He hadn't lost his mind. He had been standing guard. Watching. Protecting. He had connected something no one else could. Her routine. The morning. The mailbox. The quiet danger building inside their home. And when it became too much, when it was no longer safe, he didn't stop barking. He stayed. He fought for them in the only way he knew how. Lisa knelt beside him, wrapped her arms around his neck, and whispered into his fur. You saved us. Rusty didn't move, but his tail tapped the floor. Just once. He understood. That night, the house was quiet in a different way. Not the hollow silence of grief, but a soft, sacred calm. The kind that comes after something has been saved, after something has been understood. Rusty slept at the foot of the couch, curled in a tight circle, finally resting without tension in his body. No pacing, no barking, just deep, steady breathing. Lisa watched him from across the room, a blanket around her shoulders and tears still drying on her cheeks. "He's been watching over us this whole time," she whispered. David nodded slowly, and we didn't see it. We thought he was stuck in the past, but he was the only one living in the present. They thought about Anna, her laughter, her shoes by the back door, the way Rusty would sit beside her when she tied her laces, the way she'd pat his head before walking to the school bus. He had connected those mornings to her, to the sound, the scent, the rhythm of her steps. And when that rhythm changed, when danger filled the air, he did the only thing he could. He barked, not because he was lost, but because he refused to lose anyone else. The next morning, at exactly 8:02, Rusty stood up. He walked slowly to the back door. Lisa opened it without a word. He stepped outside, crossed the lawn, and sat down in front of the mailbox. But this time, he didn't bark. He just sat, quiet, watching, not out of fear, not out of grief, but because it was his post, his duty, his way of saying, "I'm still here." And from that day on, the Harrisons didn't try to stop him. They let him sit, let him watch, let him protect, because now they understood. Rusty wasn't just a dog. He was family. He was a guardian. He was their quiet, faithful angel who never asked for thanks. He just waited for the moment they'd finally hear him. And when they did, he saved everything. Sometimes, the ones who save us don't say a word. They don't make speeches or wear uniforms. They simply stay close. They watch. They wait. And when it matters most, they act. Rusty didn't know how to explain the danger. He couldn't point or warn or reason. But his heart knew. His instincts knew. And he never stopped trying to protect the family he loved. That's what makes dogs like him more than pets. They become something deeper, guardians of moments, memories, and lives. They see what we miss, feel what we ignore, and still, they love us without question. It's easy to overlook the small signs. A bark, a stare, a pause in the morning routine. But sometimes, those quiet moments are where the truest loyalty lives. Rusty saved his family not just with noise, but with love. If this story touched your heart, subscribe to our channel for more true stories of loyalty, quiet bravery, and the dogs who stay by our side through every storm, every silence, and every sunrise.